Hello, my name is Clara and I'm absolutely delighted to take part in the RMBF's Self-Care Sunday event. The RMBF is a charity that supports medical students and doctors in times of hardship. I hope that you've enjoyed the event today, that you've been able to shut out the world around you, focus on yourself and potentially try something new. Over the course of the next 45 minutes, I'll be taking you through a Pilates class. If you've never done Pilates before, don't worry. Pilates and yoga tend to be put into the same box, although they are very different practices. Pilates actually bases its practice on quite a lot of physiotherapy basics, and we'll be working through lots of different exercises to target various muscle groups. If at any point you experience anything like pain or discomfort, please listen to your body, take a bit of time out and join us on the next exercise. My classes always build on layers, so we will always start at an even sort of challenging level. It's for anybody who hasn't done it before, and we'll be building the intensity. So if at any point you find that you've pushed yourself a little bit too far, then just bring it back down to the previous level that we were working at, or otherwise just take a break. We will be going through quite a lot of different moves. We'll be starting in standing, we'll be moving down to the floor, we will be on our knees, so if you are feeling a little bit sensitive in areas such as wrists and knees, please grab hold of a pillow nearby just to offer you a little bit of cushioning. I hope you enjoy the class. We're going to start in standing. We're going to bring our feet together. We're going to bring our hands onto our waist. We're going to turn the toes out so that our heels are still connected, and then we're going to swivel the heels around so that now our feet are parallel. This is your hip distance apart stance. Take a quick look down, make sure that your knees aren't rolling in, your ankles aren't collapsing, keep everything nice and supported. You should maybe notice a little bit of tone in your legs as you lift the ankles up and keep the knees in line with your feet. Bring your hands into a diamond shape, thumbs up to belly button, index fingers down towards your pubic bone. We're going to keep the shoulders still as we start tilting our pelvis forwards and backwards. Now the best way to do this is imagining that your pelvis is a bucket. It's full of water. You can try and spill as much water out from the front of the bucket, and then you're going to try and get as much water out from the back of the bucket. I'm just going to turn sideways to illustrate that. So we're just tilting forwards, water spills out from the front, and then tilting backwards, water spills out from the back. We're doing that a couple of times. We're going to be setting ourselves up into something called our neutral pelvis. Neutral pelvis is very important in Pilates. We only move when we are ready in our neutral. This helps us maintain our posture, engage the muscles in a correct way, and then be able to move safely through the exercises. We're going to keep tilting our bucket forwards and backwards until we come into a halfway point where the surface of the water in your bucket is now completely flat. We're going to try and keep the flatness of the water there the whole time. Let's start engaging our core muscles or our abdominals. The way to do so is by lifting them in and up, as if you're tightening a belt. You should still be able to take a couple of deep breaths in this position. I'm going to keep reminding you about the abdominals because it is probably going to be the first thing you forget and let go. But we're going to try and keep it there. Bring your hands onto your waist. Slide your shoulder blades down away from your ears. It's really important to keep as much of a space in front of your chest and between your shoulders and your ears, because as the exercises get harder and harder, your shoulders will want to do this. Let's try and keep them away, and again, I'll still keep reminding you. Keeping the tummy muscles engaged, that in and up sensation. Our pelvis is in its neutral. You're going to start lifting one heel off the floor, and then we're going to bring it down. And then over to the other side, lifting it up, bringing it down. Try and stop your body from swaying too much from side to side. Keep everything still, and remember the water in your bucket. You're trying to keep the surface of the water incredibly flat, so probably your focus is going to be more about what your center is doing. We're going to add in a little bit of a heel raise to this. We're going to come up onto both heels to transfer over to the other side. A little bit of a balance challenge here. Keep your tummy muscles drawn up. That will help keep your balance. Draw a little bit taller there through the crown of your head. Imagine someone's pulling your hairs up towards the ceiling. Good. Maybe notice a little bit of tension going through the back of the legs to try and keep that pelvis still and the water completely flat as we transfer from side to side. Good. We're going to add in the opposite arm. So as one heel lifts off, the other arm lifts in front. And then we're going over to the other side, walking on the spot. As easy as it can be, but now that we're adding in that extra little focus around our center, a little bit more concentration is going on at the moment. We're going to progressively lift the arms a little bit higher every time, so that we're going to end up with both arms pointing up towards the ceiling. Take it gently as we just go through the move, and then end up with our arms reaching up towards the ceiling. Draw the tummy muscles in a little bit more, grow taller through the spine, keep the breathing going. Nice and gently. Lovely. We're going to come on to both sets of tiptoes. Bring both heels down first. We're going to nice and gently lift the heels off the floor. And then as the heels come down, we're going to lift both arms up towards the ceiling. And then heels lift up, arms come down, heels lower, arms lift. Keep your focus again on what's going on through your center. Pelvis should be absolutely still and in that halfway point or that neutral. Engage the tummy muscles a little bit more, as in lift them up a little bit more to help keep the focus and the stability. Good, we're going to stay up onto our tiptoes. The arms are going to carry on doing that very same move. We're keeping the balance going here. See, I'm wobbling already. Try and keep the muscles drawn in through your center, through your abdominals as we carry on with the arms. We're not here for long, because as you can see, I'm finding it quite difficult as well. Bring the heels down. Carry on with the arms, lifting them up into a lovely big circle. Take a breath in and breath out, bring them out. We're going to come back up onto our tiptoes. This time as the arms come up to the side and up to the ceiling, the heels are lifting up and then everything comes down. And again, lifting up, take a breath in. Breath out, lower everything down. Good, stay up onto your tiptoes. Last little bit of a balance challenge as we circle the arms up and down, keeping that engagement going through the center. Good, another 2. Lovely, and 1. Great work. Bring everything down, hands onto your waist. That surface of the water is still flat in your bucket. Lift the heels off the floor. We're going to lower them down halfway and then press yourself all the way back up and then halfway. The slower the move, the harder it's going to be. I'm still struggling at this point. We're going to speed it up in just a second, but hopefully you're starting to feel quite a lot of work going down the back of the legs, calves, hamstrings and glutes. Keep the engagement going there through the tummy muscles. Good, we're going to speed the movement up. We're going to go up, down, down. Try and stop the heels from touching the floor if you can. Keep that point of the balance. I'm not doing very well today, but that's the idea. We're bouncing up and down, keeping the core engagement, keeping our focus. We're here for 3, for 2, for 1. Lift the heels all the way up, bring them down. Whew, give the legs a really good shake. Very well done. We're going to come down into a squat sequence where we're going to target the glutes a little bit more and start getting a bit of work going through the quads. We're going to keep our feet in this hip distance apart. If you've lost it, come back to that feet together, turning the toes out and then swiveling the heels around so you're now in your parallel stance. Hands back onto your pelvis, just doing a couple of tilts forwards and backwards of that bucket, and then bring the bucket back into that center point where the surface of the water is completely flat. Tummy draws in and up. I want you to place your hand onto your lower back and one hand onto your tummy. I want you to try and memorize what the shape of the spine is in this neutral position, because this is what we're going to try and keep as we go down into our squats. Squats are taught in lots of different ways. In Pilates, the most important thing is what your back is doing in your squats. So we're going to start bending our knees in line with our feet. Going to try and not let them knock in the middle. And then as they bend a little bit more, we're going to hinge forwards. And then we're going to press ourselves back up. We'll be able to take the hands off our tummy and our lower back in just a second. Bending the knees, sticking our bottom out, but keeping the shape of the spine exactly where it is. So we're drawing up through the tummy muscles the whole time to keep stability there through the back. And again. Hands up. If you're feeling quite confident that you're able to keep the shape of the spine, bring your hands onto your waist. And then coming back up. I'm just going to enter sideways just to illustrate that. We're bending the knees, hinging at the hips, so the shape of my spine is really not changing. I'm not sticking my bottom out. I'm not tucking it in. I'm keeping that neutral line going through my lower back and then lifting up. Good. Another 3 and 2. Good. Last time, stay down in this squat. Bring your weight into your heels. Really bring it backwards. We will have a natural tendency of going forwards. We're going to press into our heels a little bit more. That's going to activate the back of the legs slightly more as well. We're going to lift one heel off the floor and then going to lower it down other side. Same principle as when we're up and standing. We're trying to not let our body sway from side to side. Keep everything still and everything as backwards as possible in terms of your weight. Roll the shoulders away from your ears. You might have not noticed, but they probably have crept up towards your shoulder as you're focusing more on what's going on through your back. Good. We're going to keep one heel lifted off the floor. We're going to start pulsing up and down. Remember to keep the weight into your heels. Our pelvis is still level. Tummy's engaged. Lower back is in its neutral. We're here for 3, for 2, For 1, lower the heel down, other side. Pulsing up and down, tiny little pulses. Make sure your knees are still following the line of your feet. We're here for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Bring the heel down, press yourself all the way up, going straight back down into our squat. Here we go. Our knees are following our feet, tummy's lifted in and up to keep our lower back still and in its neutral. Transfer the weight over to the right. Lift the left foot up a little bit more, bring it closer towards the right. We're going to start tapping it out to the side. So we're going to reach out, hips facing forwards and staying absolutely still. So we're not tipping out through the pelvis, everything is staying nice and controlled. As we tap away and bring it back. Make sure your weight is still into the back of your right heel. Again, you'll have a natural tendency of going a little bit forwards. Try and keep it there. Another 3 and 2. And 1, keep it out. Keep the legs straight, hips facing forwards. We're going to try and lift the leg off the floor and then bring it down. Make sure your knee is staying stable on the supporting side. Tiny little lifts. You won't be able to lift it any higher than that. We're starting to target the glutes that run down the side of the hip. We tend to work glute major, the big muscle group there, more than just isolating the side muscles there. So it might feel a little bit strange just getting those 2 little ones activated. We're here for another 2. Last time, bring the foot back to center. We're going to tap it forwards. Here we go for 8. For 7, keep the weight into your heels. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going to step it backwards. Hips facing forwards. Your tummy muscles are still engaged to keep that lower back in its neutral. Tapping back. Now your weight is going to want to creep forward, so fight against it. Keep the pressure into your heel mainly. Feel the burn going down the back of that right leg. Good, we're here for 5. Ooh, for 4, keep still. 3 and 2 and 1. We're going to tap forwards, back to center, side, back to center, behind, back to center. Good, we've got another 4 in each spot. And back. And 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2. Last time in each direction. Forwards, side and back. We're all done. Bring that foot safely down to the floor. Press yourself up. Give everything a really good shake. Well done. Hopefully that right side has been completely burnt out. We're going to do everything on the other side. Give yourself a moment to shake things out. Bring your feet back into that parallel stance. Let's lift the arms up just to release through the spine. Take a breath in. Breath out. Squeeze the shoulder blades together as the arms come behind. Breathe out. Breathe in, lift. Breathe out, open out through the chest. Last time, breathe in, lift. Breathe out, circle the arms. Lovely work. Back onto your hips, or if you want to place them back again in front of your tummy and your lower back, just to make sure your spine is staying in the same shape, please do. Tummy's lifted in, pelvis is in that halfway point, knees facing down towards your feet as you start bending and hinging forwards. Let's do a couple of these just to reset the movement before we go back onto the other side. Nice and gently, keep the shoulders away from your ears. Try not to pop your chest out and go into extension through your back. Press a little bit more into your heels every time you come down into your squat. We're going to stay down on the next one. Here we go. Staying down. Take a quick look down. Knees should be in line with your feet. Bring your weight back. Lift your right foot off the floor. Bring it a little bit closer to your left. Try and stay stable through the supporting side. We're going to reach the foot out and then tap it back. Reach the foot out. Tap it back. Remember, pelvis is staying still, and the way we're doing that is by lifting up through the tummy muscles to keep the lower back in its neutral. Here we go for another 3 and 2 and 1. Keep it out to the side. Here we go for our little lifts and lowers. Lift, lower, lift, lower. You might find that you've got a little bit more mobility in one hip than the other. That is absolutely normal. This certainly is my tighter hip. We're going here for another 2 and 1. Bring the foot back. We're stepping it forwards for 8. Tap it forwards and back to center. Forwards, back to center. Remember that weight on the left-hand side. Bring it back into your heels. Shoulders away from your ears. Good. Another 3 and 2 and 1. We're bringing it back. Your weight will want to go forwards. Fight against it. Reaching back for 8. Tap. 7. Tap. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. Here we go for 5 in total. Forwards, center, side, center, back. That's 1 set. 4 more. Forwards, side, and back. Now remember, we're focusing more on what the rest of the body is doing, not necessarily how far the leg is going out. As long as your hips are facing forwards, your tummy's lifted in and up, we're doing okay. Good. 2 more. Here we go. Side and back. Last time. Make it count. Keep still. At the side and back. Bring both feet down to the floor. Press yourself up. Reach the hands up. Take a breath in. Breath out. Circle the arms out. And again, lifting the arms up. Take a breath in. Breath out. Arms come out to the side. 1 very last time. Reaching up. And then coming all the way down. Give everything a really good shake. Well done. We're done with our standing section. Let's come to the end of our mat and give our spine a little bit of release with a roll down. Bring your feet back to that hip distance stance. We're going to place our hands on either side of our rib cage. With the Pilates breath, we're going to try and get our breath down to the side of the lungs. So not necessarily the front or the back, it's really the side there. And to do that, we're going to take some lovely breaths in. We're going to focus on what our hands are doing. So we're hopefully going to try and get our hands to press out and then to come back in as the lungs recoil. Let's give it a go. Breath in. Breath out. Breath in. Expand the lungs outwards. Breath out, allow the hands to come back as the lungs recoil. Let's do that twice more. Breath in. Breath out. 1 very last time. Breath in. And breath out. Bring the hands down by your side. My eyes always close during that. It helps you focus a little bit more on what you're trying to do with your breath. Take a breath in here. On the breath out, we're going to start bringing our chin to our chest. Imagine your spine is stuck to the wall behind you like Velcro, and you are starting to pull your spine off 1 bone at a time. So you're keeping your pelvis still until you have to tilt it forwards. Keep the knees slightly bent on this one, especially if, like me, your hamstring length is a little bit challenged. We're going to bend the knees. We're going to restep the spine. For that, we're going to tuck the tailbone, and then we're going to build the spine 1 by 1 back in to standing. Take a breath in here at the top. Breath out, chin to chest. Here we go again. Keep the knees slightly bent as you roll forwards. Use your tummy muscles. Scoop them up towards your spine just to help you through the movement a little bit better. Bend the knees, restep the spine back up into standing. We're going to lift the arms up as we stand up. Take a breath in here. On the breath out, we're going to dive forwards into our roll down. So pretty much exactly the same movement. We're going to start reaching the arms up and over. Scoop those tummy muscles in towards your spine as you roll forwards. The arms reached out in front should make your spine feel a little bit longer as you roll forwards. Great work. We're going to rebuild back up to standing. Reach the hands up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in. And again, diving forwards. 1 bone at a time, just curling your hands away from you. Feel the stretch down the back of the legs. And last time, rebuild the spine 1 bone at a time. Take a breath in as you reach up towards the ceiling. Breath out, dive forwards. We're staying down. We're going to go all the way down to the floor. Bend your knees when you feel like you can't get any further down, and then bring your hands down towards the floor. We're going to walk ourselves out into our 4-point kneeling. Hands are going to be underneath our shoulders, knees are going to be underneath our waist. If you've got a mirror, this is quite a nice one to look at in terms of your posture. We're going to start doing those tilts of the pelvis forwards and backwards. It's going to feel a little bit strange because I cannot guide you with your bucket full of water because in this position all the water's fallen out already. But what we're going to try and do is just do exactly the same movement as we did in standing and bring our pelvis into what feels like a halfway point. So here we go, keeping the shoulders still, we're going to start tucking the tailbone and then going to reach the tailbone away. So we're arching through our lower back and then we're rounding through our lower back. The rest of the back is staying still, shoulders are staying still. We're really just isolating the pelvis here. Make sure your feet aren't touching, keep them in a nice parallel line. And then we're going to bring our pelvis into what feels like a halfway point. Again, unfortunately, I cannot guide you with a bucket image, but try and bring it into a position where you felt like it's in the same shape as when you were in standing. So you should still have a natural arch in your lower back. Lift up through the tummy muscles, that in and up sensation. We're going to be working quite hard at keeping the shape of the spine here. We're going to complicate matters a little bit. We're going to come down onto our forearms. We're going to try and keep the shape of the spine in that way. So we're coming down. You're naturally going to be tilted forwards, but again, your pelvis is still in that halfway. Lift up through the tummy muscles. Shoulders should be right above your elbows. Press the hands down into the floor. We're going to tilt forwards and backwards. So we're going to transfer forwards and backwards. That's a better explanatory term there. But we're keeping our tummy muscles engaged. So imagine it's your tummy muscles that are driving you forwards, and then they change their mind, they drive you backwards. So at no point are we losing the neutral through our spine. So we're not going so far forwards that we dip everything and go into extension, or so far back that we roll through our spine. We're keeping everything lovely and neutral, shoulders away from your ears. We're starting to warm up the triceps. There will be a little bit of a tricep element to this workout. We're reaching forwards, and then your tummy muscles change their minds. They drag you back and forwards and backwards. Now, for the rest of these movements, you obviously will want to have a look at what we're doing, but once you've got the hang of it, make sure you bring your head back in line with your spine and tuck your chin into your chest so that your spine is long from tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. Good. We're going to bring our weight back so that our shoulders are above our elbows, knees are above our waist. Lift the tummy muscles in a little bit more. We're going to start moving the left leg. We're keeping the hips absolutely still as we reach the leg back behind, keeping the toes connected to the floor, and then bring everything back. We're staying on that same side, reaching away and back. Now lift the chest up a little bit more. In this position, our shoulders are going to get quite sore in the sense that they're trying to keep us up. So we are doing a little bit of shoulder work here without actually moving them. Super big bonus. But as a result, we might start dipping through the chest and craning through the neck. Keep your chest lifted. Imagine you've got a flame underneath your chest and you're trying to avoid getting burnt. Keep the leg reached out behind. We're going to start lifting the leg up and then lowering it down, hips still facing down towards the floor. Now, important note here, we can lift the leg super high if we wanted to, but in this class, we're going to try and lift it only as high as we can still feel the neutral through your pelvis. So if I wanted to impress everyone, I'd lift my leg up, but I'd have to arch through my back. In this case, I absolutely don't want to be doing that. So keep the tummy muscles engaged, keep a note of where your lower back is, how it's feeling, and make sure it stays there. Another 3, and 2, and 1. Keep the leg lifted, lovely and long. Flex the foot. We're going to bend the knee. We're going into some hamstring curls. Reach away. The thigh is actually staying exactly where it is. We're bending at the knee, and that is what is driving the movement. Lift your chest up away from the floor a little bit more. We're going to stay in this bent position. We're going to start pulsing up and down. Hips are still facing down towards the floor. Tummy muscles drawn in. Make sure you haven't shifted your weight any far forwards or backwards. Keep it equal between forearms and knee as you pulse up and down. You should start feeling that glute waking up all over again. We haven't finished working it out. Keep the leg lifted, reach away through the toes are pointed. We're going to cross the leg so that it comes and taps the floor over to our right. We're going to lift the leg, trace a lovely rainbow, and then tap to the side. We're keeping our hips forwards the whole time. We're keeping tummy muscles engaged. Try not to let the body sway from side to side. Really keep your focus on what the rest of the body's doing. Good. Another 2. And 1. Lovely work. Bring the leg behind, bring it all the way back to the floor, going straight over to the other side. You might need to reshuffle your weight a little bit. Make sure shoulders are still above your elbows, knees above your weight. We're going to go through the same movements now on the right. We're reaching away, toes are connected to the floor, hips facing down to the floor, and then bringing it back. And then reach. and bring it back. Now hopefully you can bring your head in line with the spine, tuck your chin into your chest, keep that length going through the whole spine there. And back, another 2, and 1. Keep the leg reached out, we're lifting the leg and lowering it down. So same principles apply, tummy muscles are in, lower back is in its neutral. It really just is your leg that is being moved by your glute. Lift and lower. Another 3, and 2, and 1. Keep the leg lifted, flex the foot, draw your toes towards your shin. We're bending at the knee, hamstring curl, and then we're pressing the heel away. And again, bending the knee, keep the leg lifted, try not to let it lower. And bend, and reach, 2 more. Keep the chest lifted. Tuck your chin into your chest a little bit more as if you're holding a really juicy peach. We're keeping the knee bent and we're starting to pulse up and down. Our foot is still flexed. Good. Really drive the pulse from the glute itself. Burn that muscle group out. We're here for 2. For 1, reach out through the toes. We're crossing the leg over to the left, tracing a rainbow with the toes to come over to the side. You might need to adapt the size of your rainbow based on how stable your hips are. Really keep the stillness going through the hips facing forwards, tummy muscles lifted, chest lifted away from the floor. Another 3, and 2, and 1. Well done. Bring the knee in. Not done just yet. We're going to press through our hands. We're going to keep the shape of the spine absolutely the same. Lift up through the tummy muscles more. Lift up through the chest. Press through the hands. We're coming into a straight arm. Don't lock your elbows out. Keep a little bit of a bend even as you straighten them at the top. And then bend the elbows. Bring them back down to the floor. Chest stays lifted. Remember, tummy muscles are in. Lower back is staying exactly in that same shape. The only reason why we're lifting up is because our elbows are extending. Nothing else. And then press the arms down. We're here for another 3. And down. 2. Triceps should be screaming at you by now. And 1, we're going to come into a halfway position. The creases of your elbows are facing out to the front of the mat. We're going to start pulsing up and down. Here we go. We're here for 8, for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring your bottom all the way down towards your heels. Reach your hands out in front of you and press yourself down into your child's pose. Now don't copy me. My bottom doesn't go any lower than this because my knees don't bend that much. But if you can bring your bottom down to your heels, please do. Press your hands into the floor, but also try and get a little bit of extension going through the armpits to feel a lovely stretch down the arms. Sway from side to side if that feels nice. Take a few deep breaths. Well done. We have worked all sorts of muscle groups in just that one set of exercises. We've done glutes, we've done a little bit of core, we've done shoulders, and definitely have burnt out those poor triceps. Well done. Fab work. And we're going to roll all the way up. We're going to come and sit on our bottoms. Nice and gently, and as elegantly as you can manage at this point in the class. We're going to bring our feet out in front. We're going to come into some roll downs. This is not only going to be lovely for your spine, it's going to be a little bit of core work as well. If you are a little bit unstable and you're finding it quite difficult to control the movement through your core, grab a pillow and place it in between your knees, or a Pilates ball if you have one. Just having a little bit of tension there in your knees activates your inner thighs and then stabilizes the obliques there. So give it a go if you're feeling that you're all over the place and you want something to hold on to. We're going to bring our hands underneath our thighs first. I'm going to show you lots of different variations in how to come into the roll down. Pick your option. Going to find the sitting bones. We're going to really sit up high through them. Reach out through the crown of your head, spine is lovely and long. Melt the shoulders away from the ears. Take a breath in here. Breath out. We're going to roll off our sitting bones as we start tucking our tailbone underneath. We're rounding through the lower back. Scoop the muscles in towards your spine as you start rolling down one bone at a time. We're going to a halfway point. And then we're going to start rolling forwards. Once you're back onto your sitting bones, that's when you start restacking the spine. Take a breath in here. You might need to move the feet depending on how far or how close they were. You might have found that it restricted your movement through there. Move your feet around. Don't commit to a position just because you started into it. On the breath out, you're going to start rolling off the sitting bones, tucking the tailbone. We're keeping the shoulders away from the spine. It is very easy to come into this position, which isn't actually very good. We're trying to get into a bit of a J shape, if that makes any sense. We're scooping the tummy muscles. Our tailbone is tucked, lower back is rolled forwards, but we still have a sense of openness there through the chest. And then rolling forwards, back into sitting up tall. Take a breath in here. If you want to challenge yourself, this is your other option. You can reach the hands out in front and then roll without the support of the hands. Keeping the shoulders away from your ears. Coming to a halfway point, challenge yourself. See how low you can go every single time. And then rolling up. Let's take a mini break. We're going to bring our hands onto our knees. We're going to roll the shoulders away, back and shoulder blades, squeezing together as we open out through the chest. Lovely work. We're going to keep adding in some arm movements, and then we're going to be challenging our core more and more and more. Again, with the levels, we are going to keep building up on the layer of intensity. So if you're finding that you've pushed yourself just a little bit too far, drop it down to what we were just doing before, or if you really need a break, just come onto your back, bring your knees into your chest and give yourself a massive hug. Lovely release for your tummy muscles and for your lower spine as well. If you need a little bit of support in this movement, you can bring a pillow underneath your lumbar spine just to give you a little bit of a help there. Reach the hands out in front or bring your hands underneath your knees, entirely up to you. Take a breath in, grow tall through the spine. Breath out, tuck the tailbone, scoop tummy muscles in towards your spine as you roll down to that halfway point. We're going to hold it there. If you've got something in between your knees, give it a little bit of a squeeze. We're reaching one arm up, take a breath in, and then we're going to bring it down. Tap the floor. One arm up, take a breath in, and down. We're staying on that one side for now. We're going to do another 3, and lower, 2, lower, 1, lower, straight over to the other side. Arm comes back in front, other hand reaches up, lowers down. Keep that tuck going through the tailbone, the scoop through the tummy muscles to help you with your posture here. You should feel it definitely in your tummy muscles, and hopefully this isn't causing any pain into your lower back. If it is, either tuck your tailbone underneath or roll all the way down to the floor. Give your back a little bit of a break and don't do as many reps. Good. Once you've done 5, bring the hands out in front. We're going to roll all the way back up to sitting tall, hands onto your knees, counter stretch as we squeeze the shoulder blades together, open out through the chest. Take a breath in here. And then breath out. Reset the spine, hands back out in front. Lovely work. Here we go again. Tuck the tailbone, scoop toe muscles in towards your spine, back into that halfway roll down. We're going to do some scissor movements with the arm. So as one arm reaches up, the other one reaches down. And then swap. Now you might find that you can't reach the arm up as high as you could when it was just one arm moving. That's absolutely fine. We're loading the core here, so our core is starting to work extra hard because not only is it working with both arms, i.e. both weights moving, but it's also working through the dynamicity, I think that's a word, of the arms. So making it dynamic challenges the core a little bit more. Good, last 2, and 1. Hands come out in front, we're rolling back up, sitting up tall, hands onto your knees, squeeze the shoulder blades together, open out through the chest. Lovely work. If you're starting to feel quite a lot of ache going through your hip flexor muscles, that can happen quite a lot in this movement. Draw your heels as if you're trying to bring them closer towards your bottom. If you were in sand, you're drawing them down into the sand. Activating the back of the legs helps switch off the front. But if that is still not enough, make sure that you bring something in between your knees if you hadn't already, because that helps switch off the hip flexors as it activates all sorts of other muscle groups. So here we go again. We're going to add both arms in. So rather than scissors, we're going to lift both arms up and down. This is definitely going to be a challenge to your core. You'll see why. Take a breath in, roll down, halfway roll down, scoop tummy muscles in towards your spine a little bit more. Make sure your chest is lovely and wide. Lift both arms up. I can't lift my arms as high as I could when it was just one, because we're loading the core even more. So the weight of the arms is acting so much more onto the core for it to react and work a little bit harder. Tuck that tailbone in underneath you a little bit more. Breath in to lift, breath out to lower. Breath in to lift, out to lower. Another 2. Last time. Hands come back in front. We're reaching forwards, rolling all the way up. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Open out through the chest. Give yourself a little bit of a wiggle. We're going in for our very final move. Reach the hands out in front, tuck the tailbones, scoop tummy muscles in. We're going back into our halfway point. We're going to trace some circles with the arms. So small circles, and what I want you to do is to keep them consistent and the same size, and all circles, not wiggly shapes. So we're going to start tracing those circles out and in. Your hands are going to do opposite things. Just make sure you remember which direction you went in first, because we will be reversing the circles. Tuck the tummy muscles in a little bit more. If you want to challenge yourself, try and go a little lower. Reach the hands out in front to keep that chest wide, shoulders away from your ears. We're here for another 2 circles. And 1, we're going to reverse immediately. Here we go. So circles, the same shape. They're all perfect circles, reaching out through the fingertips, tucking the tailbone, scooping the muscles in a little bit more. Good. We're here for 3, for 2, for 1. We're going to give our spine a lovely big break. Make sure you've got plenty of room behind you. We're going to roll all the way down. Last little moment here for your core. Keep the control. Take a breath in. Reach the hands away. And then bring your knees into your chest. Really well done. Cross your feet if that feels nice. And just sway from side to side. Lovely work. Whew, core burnt out for sure. All right, we're going to lie onto our side for our very final movement. And then we're going to do some well-deserved stretches at this point. I hope that all makes sense so far. We've worked through lots of different exercises, but golly, it's not just one muscle group that we're working with every exercise. You'll notice that you're focusing on so much more than just the part that is working. I think it's a great use of time. Really use it efficiently. One exercise, lots of different muscle groups, rather than one exercise, just one muscle group.
This next part has been dubbed as the sound became a little bit strange. We're going to roll onto our sides. We're going to make ourselves comfortable here, so if you've got a little pillow to place underneath your head, please do. Otherwise, fold your arm to cushion yourself that way. Bring your mat up until the back of the mat, and now bring your feet up against it as well. So now your feet and back are in one line and your knees are out in front. We're going to start off by positioning our pelvis. So we're going to be tilting it from side to side. A little bit difficult to explain, but here we go. We're going to press our top hip away from us. You'll notice a little bit of space or a sensation of a lift going through as you tilt your pelvis from a vertical position to the top hip being pushed away. We're going to press our underside into the mat to bring our top hip a little bit closer in towards us. And then we're going to tilt it back into that first position where you notice the lift, or at least that sensation of lifting going underneath. And then we're going to tilt our pelvis back into the opposite direction. So top hip coming in closer towards us. We're going to keep our pelvis in the position where our top hip is pressed away. So you should be able to maintain a sense of space or a sensation of lift throughout the rest of the exercises. To do so, you're going to draw up through your abdominals to keep the stability there going through the hips. Imagine your hips are pretty much skewered one on top of the other. We're going to try and keep that stillness there, or imagine placing a glass of champagne on your top hip. We're going to be working through the glutes around our hip there. So bring your hand either in front of you or up onto your waist for support. We're going to go into some clams by opening our knee up and then closing it down. We're only opening our knee so far up as to keep the hips still and avoiding from rolling back. So keeping the muscles engaged through the tummy, we're lifting up through the knee and lowering it down. And lift and lower. We're going to be working through these glutes there on the side of our hips. So our glute med and mini, they are not usually worked in isolation, so you should start to feel a little bit of warmth going through that back pocket area. Keep lifting and lowering. And lift and lower and lift. We're going to keep the lift going here. We're only going to close halfway now. Press your knee up, down halfway and lift. Squeeze your heels together to get a little bit more inner thigh engagement here. Keep the hips absolutely still and steady as you open the knee up and close it down. And lift and lower. We're going to bring the knee all the way down and we're going to stretch the top leg away. So here we're still thinking about our pelvic positioning, and a way to keep our pelvis in that initial setup is by imagining someone pulling our foot away from us. So we're lengthening out through the leg, and you should notice your top hip shifting away and that space being underneath you. We're going to lift the leg up and then lower it down. Lift again and lower. So again, keeping that stability going through the hips by lifting up through our core muscles. We're lengthening out through the leg, keeping it as long as possible. Imagine that person is still pulling your leg away from you. Lift and lower. On this next one, we're going to hold our leg up, flex the foot, draw the toes towards you and start pulsing up and down. Reach out through the heels, still think about length, that person pulling your leg away from you. You should still notice that lift going through the underside or that space. Bring your hand on your top hip just to get a little bit of tactile feedback as to how stable you're keeping your hips. Keep pulsing up and down. It should start to burn about now. Good. Keep the legs still. We're going to bring our foot forwards to tap the floor. We're going to start tracing some rainbows. So trace the rainbow to bring your foot to the back and tap the floor, and then lift it up, rainbow to the front. Again, thinking about pelvic stability, getting that leg as long as possible, lifting up through the tummy muscles, getting that little space underneath us to stay there. As you trace your rainbows, we're going to keep the foot lifted. We're going to start tracing some squares. Now the squares need to be consistent in size and need to look like squares the whole time. We're doing 4 in each direction. So tracing the right angles absolutely perfectly. We don't want any wibbly wobbly shapes. Trace 4 squares. Reach out through the toes. Keep the hips still. Try not to let them roll forwards and backwards. And once you've done 4 squares, we're going to reverse the shapes. Keep that lift going through the tummy muscles. Good. Last one, if you're on your 4th. And then we're going to relax the leg by bringing it all the way forwards. Let's release out through the glutes that have worked very hard. Now you can either give your glutes a really good rub or you can give it a really good thump. Do whatever you need to just to release the tension there going through the glutes. Take a couple of seconds here, breathing in and out. Letting your body know that this is a moment of rest. Keep thumping on it if you need to.
We're on to our other sides. We're setting ourselves up exactly in the same position. So our back is in line with the back of the mat, and our feet are in line with the back of the mat as well. Now for the arm position, you might have found that what you were just in was really uncomfortable. You can keep your arm completely long. Can press your head up a little bit, but that does tend to tilt your hips a little bit down towards the floor. So if you can find a position where you're comfortable, that suits me absolutely fine. We're pressing the top hip away, getting that sense of space underneath, lift up through the tummy muscles. Champagne glass is on top of your hip there. Hand either in front or on the side. We're starting with our simple clam. So we're keeping the tension between the heels, squeeze them together as you open the knee up towards the ceiling. And then lower the knee down. Take it nice and gently. Again, you might find that you've got different ranges of movement between each hip. This is my more flexible hip, so I feel I can go a little bit further without compromising the stability through my hips. And that is perfectly normal. Good, let's do that twice more. Last time. We're going to now close the knee halfway. So we're lifting it up and then closing halfway. Lift and close. Now having it in this particular set of pattern of movement, we are adding a little bit more work through the glute muscles because they're not coming into a range where they're relaxed, so they're constantly activated as you lift and lower. This is going to add so much more instability though through your hips because your glute is trying to work a little bit harder. So keep your focus again on that champagne glass, on the lift going through underneath as we do another 3 and 2 and 1. Bring the knee all the way down. We're going to reach the top leg away. Point the toes. Really imagine that person's pulling your leg away to emphasize that space or that sense of lift coming underneath you. Lift the leg up and lower it down. Now I didn't mention it, but hopefully it came quite naturally. We're only lifting the leg up as high as we can still keep the stability there, but essentially the space there. So I can lift my leg up higher if I press the underside down here. So again, we're working within a range of movement where we're focusing more on what's happening in the center rather than how high our leg is going up. If you've got your hand either in front of you or up on your shoulder, try not to let that shoulder creep up towards your ears. Keep everything lovely and spacious in terms of in the space in between shoulder, ear, and in front of your chest as well. Good, let's keep the leg lifted. Flex the foot, we're going to pulse it up and down. Still that sense of length. Imagine someone's now pulling your heel away from you. Get as much length through the leg as possible. It will also work through more muscle groups than we already are. We're here for another 3, another 2, another 1. Keep the leg lifted, point the toe. Rainbows, here we go. Tap forwards, lift and only go as far back as you can. Keep that champagne glass on your hip without spilling anything out of it. Lift, bring it back, lift, bring it forwards. Again, keep that space underneath you, or that sensation of a lift. Whew, everything's sore, isn't it? Another 2. And 1, our very last challenge. We're keeping the leg up, our squares. Perfect squares, remember 4 in each direction. Keeping the shape consistent and of the same size as well. The leg should be absolutely exhausted. Try not to let it creep down towards the floor. Keep it lifted. Reverse when you've done 4. Whew. Keep the breathing going. Try not to press down into the floor too much. Imagine you've got a poppadom underneath your fingertips. All right, I'm on my very last one. And once you've done all of those, bring that leg in front of you and tap away or rub, whatever helps you release those glutes there. Whew, well done. Golly, a lot of work going through, but I think we've basically targeted every single muscle group with just those pretty much 4 exercises that we've done, or at least 4 series of exercises. Super well done. We're going to come onto our backs. Let's stretch out. So nice and gently onto our backs. We're going to start in a figure of 4 stretch to release the glutes. We're going to cross with the heel on top of the knee. Now find the position where you can feel the stretch down the glute of the leg that's lifted. So it might either be with your foot down onto the floor, it might be lifted, it might be pressing down into your knee. Find your sweet spot for that stretch there. Now, once you've found out, I want you to add a little bit more pressure through the pelvis. So imagine your tailbone is really melting down into the floor. Just having a little bit of pressure there adds a stretch down that glute there, pressing down into the floor. So you're not arching your lower back, you're keeping that arch as it is, but you're pressing down through your tailbone, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let's swap over. So this is the time to let your body know that it's done a superb job at keeping you upright throughout the exercises, keeping your posture nice and supported, but also helped you work all those different muscle groups to help you hopefully feel a little bit more limber after that class, maybe a little bit more relaxed, and hopefully no thoughts of the outside world crept into your mind and you were able to focus entirely on yourself and what your body was doing for you. We're going to reach one leg away as we keep one knee into our chest. We're going to come into a twist. If you want to avoid a twist, then just carry on with either the figure of 4, bring both knees into your chest. We're going to cross the leg over. Now, entirely dependent on how you're feeling through your back, you might want to extend your other arm out and you might want to turn your head over to the side of the outreached arm just to explore that sense of stretch and that sense of twist a little bit more. Take your time, breathe deeply. And then swap over. Other knee comes into your chest as the other leg reaches away. Cross the knee over. And reach away through that other arm if that feels nice. Turn your head away from your knee. Bring the knee back into the chest. Let's bring both knees in. So if you were in that knee hug position, avoid the twist. We've joined you now into our knee hugging position. Roll side to side, give your back a little bit of a massage. And then we're going to come into a happy baby pose. We have worked our inner thighs in lots of different movements without actually realizing it. So they definitely need a little bit of a release, and the sun has just started to shine through. Bring your elbows to the inside of both knees and grab hold of whatever you can. If it's just your ankles, that's fine. If it's the side of your toes, or if it's your thumb, whatever works for you. Add a little bit of tension there to the inside of the knees just to get a sense of stretch, sensation of stretch. Say that 10 times. Through the inner thighs, melt your spine into the floor. Sway from side to side if that feels nice. We're going to come into a full body stretch.
Reach one leg away and then the other, and start lifting your arms up overhead. We're going to make our body as long as it possibly can be. So we're going to just tilt our pelvis from side to side as we try and find a sense of stretch going down the side of your body, reaching further a little more through the heel and then through the hand, really making yourself as long as possible. Now we're going to come and sit up through one final core challenge, which is going to be our roll up. If you would like to avoid this and cheat and roll onto your side and prep yourself up, obviously I will not know. So please listen to your body on this one.
Reach the hands away from us first. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, lift the arms up towards the ceiling. Start rolling forwards. Imagine someone's putting your arms now, grabs hold of your t-shirt. You're rolling forwards, and then you're going to come into a forward fold. Now, my legs won't let me stay in a forward fold with my legs straight, so I'm going to keep a little bit of a bend as I relax forward. This is more for your spine. Feel the neural stretch going from the neck all the way down into your spine and potentially down your sciatic nerve, getting a whole stretch to the spine and down the back of the legs. Hold it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's restack the spine up tall. We're going to bring both hands onto the mat. We're going to turn ourselves around onto hands and knees. Now we're going to press ourselves out into a downward facing dog. You can either do that by reaching out into a plank, then sticking your bottom up, or you can tuck your toes in like I'll be doing and pressing through the hands, uncurling through the spine so that our spine is as straight as it possibly can be. As you press the heels down into the floor, getting another sense of a stretch down the back of the legs. I can't keep still, so I keep having to sway. And then we're going to start coming into a walking on the spot here. So one heel lifts as the other one tries to press even further down towards the mat, and then swapping over. And again. And start walking your feet towards your hands. Release your hands away from the mat, grab hold of your elbows, really relax forwards. There's no tension through the neck, really let it hang there. We're doing a bit of a ragdoll. We're swaying from side, swaying from side to side. End of the class. You can tell speech goes when the move gets difficult, and just when it's the end as well. We're all feeling a little bit tired, but hopefully just feeling so much better than when we started the class. Release the arms. We're going to start tucking the tailbone. We're restacking the spine back up into standing. Hopefully you're not feeling too dizzy. If you are, really slow the movement down. Allow the world to catch up with you as you stand up. Open the eyes nice and gently. Hairs all over the place. I'm not even going to pretend. Let's just keep it the way it is. Plant your feet down into the ground at whichever stance you want it to be, whatever feels comfortable. We're going to take a breath in as we reach the hands up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to breathe out, allow the arms to come back down. We're going to do that same movement, deeper with the breath, big with the move. Here we go. Breathe in, reach. Breathe out. Relax. Let's do that one last time. Again, bigger with the move, deeper with the breath. Here we go. One final time. Reach away. Breathe in. And breathe out. Allow everything to come down. Give your body a full body shake. And give yourself a massive, massive, massive round of applause. Super well done. You have completed your Pilates class and the last event of this Self-Care Sunday. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you may be able to access this class over and over again, or memorise some of the moves that felt good or that you want to carry on working through. I am based in Bristol. I teach a face-to-face class in Bristol. Otherwise, I teach an online class. So if this is something that was really right up your street and you want to do again, then you can either sign up to my classes or you can get in touch with me via my Instagram page. I am Pilates with Clara, as very simple as that. Drop me a direct message or follow the link in my bio to any of my classes that you might want to join. Again, I hope you enjoyed that class. Thank you very much for moving with me today, and I hope you have a wonderful evening if you're watching this for the first time during the event, or rest of the day if you're watching this on catch up. Thanks so much again, and thank you to the RMBF. Take care.